Have you ever been curious about an untold story of a relative? Maybe something happened in the past that they never spoke about. Maybe you wanted to touch on abuse, or being exiled, or being afraid or unsure. Maybe finding yourself. We're going to touch on a story just like that. Come join us. So I'm Dan.
And I'm Nick, folks.
We're old friends dissecting one topic at a time. People, technology, media, we've got it all covered.
Each discussion here is a deep dive into our unique perspective. The taboo, forbidden subjects, they're all on the chopping block, baby. We don't pander to popular opinion. We might even get a little bit dirty.
Warning, this podcast may contain mature language and sexual content, and is for infotainment purposes only.
So join us. Have a good time.
Open up your ear holes, because we're going to fondle your follicles. All right. We're here with a special guest.
Steve.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Nick. You're
And
Dan.
I'm Dan.
Who is...
And I'm Steven.
Oh, Steven.
Yes.
Oh, screw that
That's
up.
awesome. It's a guest episode. Guest episodes are actually my favorite.
Oh,
My
cool.
shirt, haters gonna hate.
This is my first time being a guest on an episode, so thank
really?
you for
Fantastic.
having me.
Oh man, I hope he doesn't ruin it now, folks.
Oh,
I think he'll be good.
okay, all right.
So let's tell everyone where Steven's from. Steven has his own podcast he did, right?
Yeah. A
The
quick
first
9-episode series.
Yeah, that's right. It's just a 9-episode series, The Story of Sandra Maries. We just wrapped up not too long ago.
It's pretty sweet. Now, because we want people to check it out themselves, we won't just rehash the whole story. People check it out. We recommend it. It's super good. But it's essentially about your mother, right?
Yeah, Sandra Maries. That's her first and middle name. Yeah. So it's about her life story and everything that she went through. Essentially, growing up as a lesbian girl and then being lured into the Mormon religion to eventually go through conversion therapy and then getting into an abusive marriage and how she escaped the abusive marriage.
Yeah. So essentially a pretty heavy story.
It's some really heavy,
super heavy
stuff.
But that's totally cool because I'm not usually always a fan of that. And I listened to it and it's a good read.
Good listen.
It's a good listen.
Yeah.
It was a good
Good
listen.
read. A good listen, good read.
It was catching,
Broke it up in
too.
nice chunks too. Yeah. I like that it was 25-ish minute segments. It kept it, fresh. Like, because I couldn't be like, an hour and 8 minutes. Like, come on, I'm driving to work. But like those segments, it was nice. It was, well, not nice, because it was a heavy material and it was about some serious stuff. But it was good. It was manageable. I liked it. It was well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. The editing in the beginning was kind of impressive. Like, you brought all the sound clips together and it sounded smooth and clean. And I think that's what caught me.
And there was the commercial from the 50s about how homosexuality is a disease.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the voices in there are all Mormon apostles.
Is that a real commercial?
Yeah, it was a real commercial. I can't remember where I found it from, but yeah.
I've seen that before. I thought it was like a meme or like a joke or something.
No, it actually wasn't. It was like a propaganda film, and the whole film is all about it. And there's this boy Billy that he gets like
Poor Billy.
Yeah, he gets attacked by a homosexual man. So
I feel like I have seen this now because I thought it was a joke. I feel like it's done in the same way that the don't listen to jazz music and smoke a marijuana cigarette.
Was that Reefer Madness?
Yes, Reefer Madness.
It is kind of. It's sort of done like that, but I don't think it's a joke. It's a legitimate.
But Reefer Madness is a joke.
Yeah, I think Reefer. Well, I don't know.
Now, I don't know. It's crazy. The 50s were a crazy time.
Yeah, and I was stoned when I watched Reefer Madness. So
the comedy just writes itself.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch on the heaviness because I feel like,
Nick is worried. He's the lighthearted one.
No, I'm not worried. I wanted to get it out in the open because I feel like if we're having a good time, we're all laughing, then we're like, anyway, conversion therapy is terrible.
Yeah,
everyone's gonna
But and it's a hard thing. I see what you're saying because it could be hard to maybe joke or be lighthearted around heavy topics. You don't want to give off the wrong.
Right. I don't want to be like, we're laughing at it.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on it. Like, that stuff's crazy. They tried to change
crazy.
physiologically who you were, psychologically who you were, by shocking you.
I think in the story you said that like they made your mom like try to masturbate to men, like they gave her like naked pictures of men or something.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Naked pictures of men with erections.
With erections, I did note that, and I even made a note. I was like, "Wow, what if it was like flaccid? Like, no, this man has to be
had erection,
full
yeah."
on.
And for her, that was the first time she had seen a penis.
Crazy.
So
and that was completely against the religion too, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, pornography is one of the worst things you could do in the religion. So, and masturbation definitely is.
So in this religion, though, didn't she get in trouble for like bringing a coffee can somewhere because you weren't allowed to drink coffee? So we're strict enough where we're saying, hey, no kissing before marriage, light pecking on the cheek. Don't drink coffee. Don't look at your neighbor. Don't utter any bad words. But also, we're going to cure you. Here's some pornography. I got a guy with a raging erection. I thought that was the craziest thing
It's pretty crazy. For me, I'm just wondering about the guy who went and collected the porno. Like, where did he get it from?
I don't know. And is there an approval process? Like, he was like looking at like 8 pictures of him. He's like, no.
That church vault. He's spinning a giant door and just porno everywhere.
Yeah, it's a bunch of conversion therapy guys. So they're probably gay, and so they're like, "Ooh, yeah, we get to find a picture of some penis,"
But is that? I don't even know. There was a committee. Like, it wasn't handed down from the Pope, or like what's the Pope version? Is there like a
the Pope version of is the prophet is what it's called.
So there's the head bishop, I guess.
Yeah, he's like the head bishop. He's like the Pope, and he's the prophet of the church. And then there's 12 apostles under him.
Oh shit, that actually sounds cool. Well, I mean, like cool and like a
cool and like a skull and bones kind of yeah. And it's, I mean, and they're all, I mean, I think a prerequisite is you have to be like 99 to be one of the 12 apostles or something, because they're all just so old.
Sounds about right.
Which is, I think a lot of people probably credit that for the intolerance or the things they don't like about the religion, or the leaders are just super old. They were around when you were supposed to hit your wife. You know what I mean? Like,
you're absolutely right.
I mean, they were young before the civil rights movement even happened. Right. I mean, they're not supposed to. Yeah,
well, that's probably why they elect them, because at 99, you're pretty controllable. You're not doing a lot of change. Why would you? I mean, you've already made it that far.
And that was something that we struggled with a lot with the podcast, because we didn't want it to be like a talking a bunch of ass on the Mormon religion, and coming down on it by any means. Even though,
are you practicing? Do you like? You seem like you're away from it, but you're still in Utah, right?
Not at all. Yeah, I'm still in Utah. No, I haven't been practicing for many years, for well over 20 years.
You were raised Mormon, though. Like,
I was raised Mormon. Yeah,
active, like church.
I was fairly active, but I would slough the Mormon church, because they have like 3 meetings. So I would go to the meeting that I was in with my parents, and then the other meetings I would sneak home.
Nice.
Consequently, my father, or Mr. Smiles from the podcast, would also sneak home, and he would watch pornography.
Wow!
During the middle meetings of
everybody's sinning. Everybody out here sinning.
They're just sinning, man. Mm-hmm. And it was back in the 90s where satellite dishes, so the TV signal would come through all of the televisions in the house.
Scrambled and frozen on the porno, and then you'd be like, "Hey, Dad!"
Yeah,
and you hit the button.
So whatever one person's watching, all the other TVs that are hooked into the little coaxial cable, they see the same thing. So I would, record that stuff, and in junior high, I became a pornography salesman.
Oh, nice!
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, this was before the internet, and
look at that. That's
right around. Yeah. So, I mean, I made some pretty good money off of that.
That's wild. Can I ask you what you would charge? Like, are you making a VCR copy of this?
Yeah, VCR copy, and I would just let it run whenever I knew he was watching it. Eventually, I found the password to the channels. Yourself. Yeah, and then I just recorded it myself.
What could you get for a pop on like a video?
I'd do like $15, $20 a VHS.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can slide that across the table. It's in a book bag. You're like, got what I need.
Yeah.
He's like,
and when one of the kids was dumb enough to leave it in his VCR, and then my dad, he couldn't really say anything to me about it, because it's like, yeah, shit, I'll punish my son, but I never got in trouble.
Boom.
Yeah, kind of strange, but
that's what it is, man.
Mm-hmm.
Word. That's wild. That's awesome. I didn't even know we were going there.
Yeah, I don't know how we got there.
No,
I was a porn salesman, so there you go.
Do you do that currently, or you've moved on?
No, I've moved on out of the porn industry. That was
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, that was just a juvenile thing for me.
Industry in Utah.
No, it's not very big in Utah. They're into some really weird stuff.
So, is it weird that like California is the center of the porn world, and that's like real? How close is it to California?
It's like a 12-hour drive.
Oh, that's
12. You got Nevada in between, so you have Vegas and then LA.
Is it weird that it's near Vegas?
Kinda. I mean, it's kind of inside of these mountains. It's sort of encased in these mountains, kind of like certain areas of Colorado are. So you feel like you're in a fishbowl a lot of times, and you are kind of protected from the rest of the world, which is probably what founders of the place like so much about it.
Right. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So that was the origin of recording for you. It was your passion for recording things.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We do notice all the nice gear around you.
Yeah, I had to set it up so I could show off my speaks and my Blue Yeti microphone.
He's being modest. They're called monitors when they're that expensive. Okay, because speakers have EQ balance issues. These are pure EQ distributors. They have coax. They don't have coax. Okay, excuse me. I got that from you, I guess. They have XLR cables. Okay, you got to plug these bad boys in like they're legit.
These guys are balanced. They got, they're active. They have crossovers built into them.
Oh my God. Do yours pop every time you turn on the computer?
Yeah, they do. And it kind of pisses me off.
It does. And every time I do like a Windows restart.
Money for these speakers,
Yeah. And I'm like, a Windows restart. I'm like, and I'm like, damn, I should have turned them off. But I don't think they turn them off. It does bug me.
Yeah, I mean, I have like this little headphone monitor thing, and that's supposed to be nice too. And that, I can A/B between the two monitors. Nice. But yeah, anyway,
that's nice.
Don't get me going on gear. We'll just talk the whole time about gear.
I know. Well, Dan, you're a gearhead, right?
So I'm an electrical engineer. So I've done a little bit with like fiddling with signals and stuff, but I go on the cheap. I try to do things myself. Buy the cheapest thing and test it out. Just get a variety.
Test it out. And do you ever get in there and like operate on it and like make your own little modifications and pull out the soldering iron and stuff?
Yeah, that was my job for like 10 years to like repair things.
How many soldering iron jobs have you done? I bet you this guy's done like 2.
I did a soldering iron job last week, actually.
Did you?
Tapping into the communications on a circuit board.
Now, what were you doing? Were you soldering it and resoldering, or were you just unsoldering something, or were you just connecting something? Come on, give me a
soldering cables into is called a SPI port, which has like 4 different wires to it.
Okay,
it's comms.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, I mean that's in the same field as like recording engineers. They're basically electricians.
Yeah. So is this
Steven? You did mention. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Is this the first? Like, this isn't the first podcast that you've recorded, right? You've done multiple other audio recordings.
Yeah. So actually, I've done one podcast before this. It was a podcast with my brother called 100 Freakin Films, and we just did
100 Freakin Films.
100 Freakin Films. Yeah, we watched and reviewed 100 Freakin movies.
You got to 100.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Here.
We almost lost our.
The movie Rubber.
Wait, the movie Rubber? No, we didn't watch Rubber. Oh, what is that? A new movie? A newer one that's been out? Because
20.
I don't know how recent, but Nick and I reviewed that. We got copyright
for that one.
It's about a tire that comes to life and is very vengeful, and he tries to kill all the townspeople.
It has the power to explode things with its mind.
Oh wow! I think I've seen pictures of this. Yeah, I saw some. Yeah, I saw some promotional material of this tire going around. I thought that was a joke. That was a movie.
It was very well done. Yeah.
Wow. So you guys got hit for that?
Yeah, we paid to rent it. Well, Dan paid to rent it. We watched it and we figured it was fair rights. Like, let's josh on it. Let's tell jokes. Let's talk about the movie. How many hours? Was it up for like 8 hours?
Yeah.
And it just got like flagged and shut down for copyright.
In our lack of defense, we did have the video and the audio stream in our own stream. So
yeah, but
okay.
Like,
well, I mean,
it was in like 640. Who's gonna watch?
I did blur it and add like a watermark, and then we tried to talk very much commentary over top of it. Who wants to fight that though?
Man.
Copyright law.
But anyway, we did notice with all this recording software, all this previous experience, like what were you doing with you record some music?
Yeah. So, I've been an audio guy for many years now. Going back into, if you wanted to relate it to the Sandra Maries story, since in that timeline kind of, I actually went and lived with her in Los Angeles when I was 17 years old. And she was like, you're living in LA now, so you got to go work in the industry somewhere. So I just went and interned at a recording studio, and kind of just that blew up my mind. And I just got my start there as an intern, and then eventually a runner, getting people their 2 a.m. Taco Bell, and then eventually an assistant engineer. And
what anyone big we'd recognize from these
it was more the record labels. The biggest one was that I actually got to meet the artist was Jimmy Eat World, Jim Atkins. Yeah, cool. He was a super nice guy. It was a mixing studio, so there was a lot of famous artist stuff that came into the studio, but the artist didn't bother showing up usually.
Gotcha. Right.
So, but a lot of really famous engineers and producers that most people wouldn't recognize their names. The sound guy always gets the shaft.
Right. Word. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I recorded bands for many years, and did a lot of live sound and stuff too. And just recently started thinking about the idea of getting involved in podcasts, because I realized, like, holy shit, this is like everything. I could totally do all this. It's just manipulating audio, so it's been really fun, and then there's this local podcast network, H13. That's just a few of us right now that we're trying to get off the ground. And so in addition to Sandra Marie, I did, and then through my brother and some other people I know, we did 100 Freakin Films. And then now we're on to trying to get a couple more shows off the ground.
Read something?
Yeah. The stories from the Red Chair.
What's that going to be? Now, is this a preview or a past view according to when Dan releases this episode?
Yeah. Well, it's more in development to see if we really collect enough stories, which is just stories from people who've been through like unbearably trying circumstances, and sort of tell their stories of survival, their stories of like how do you find hope, and how do you find a way to move on and keep living when you've been through so much crap, and so there
was that the origin of your. Sorry, was that the origin of like your mom's story? Like, how did you get that original idea to sit down with your mom and go through some horrifying stories from her past?
Well, she's been, since I've kind of been, I also went to film school and stuff. So she's been wanting to make a movie about her story, specifically the conversion therapy part of it, for a long time. And she's also written a few drafts of a book that she's continuing to work on. And she's gearing towards the conversion therapy part of the book. And so we've always talked about collaborating on something. And then it was actually my wife's idea. We were just laying in bed, and I was telling her stories about my mom and my dad. And she's like, there's the first F word. And then, I'm glad it was
gravity.
Me. I think that's appropriate. Yeah. And
this episode might never air. This is not our material.
I'm sorry. I was your guest. He didn't know. I'm sure you could put a beep in there. But she said, you should really do a podcast about your mom. And I'm like, ding. And then just talked to the H13 guys, and then talked to my mom about it. And she came up and took a bus up here actually from Idaho, and we chatted for 2 days, and that's the whole podcast was just 2 days of us talking.
So I gathered that from the whole thing, and I even gathered that she was writing a book because she wanted to read the one part in like the later parts, and she read it. It was very well written, very eloquent. Did she do? Was she like an English major?
No, she wasn't an English major. She took a couple classes in LA.
There was something poetic and like well written about that whole thing, and I imagine the rest of her book is probably also well written.
Yeah, it's a lot like that, and it's I think that's why she was able to speak it so clearly. She's just been waiting to tell this story for a long time,
She spoke it very clearly. And what's weird
Yeah.
is so go through how this whole happened. You know the story ahead of time. Did you know, like, what percentage of her talking were you able to predict easily? You're like, I know 90%. I know 50%. Were you like, holy shit, I didn't know 40% of this?
Yeah, well, most of the stuff before me, I had no idea before I was born.
Okay.
So her early life, I really didn't know, and
so it was blind, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not that good of a son, and in doing so, we've had a surprising amount of people have contacted us about this show, and they've been touched by it and stuff, and a lot of people have said that, like, this made them realize they don't know their own parents or something.
Yeah.
But
there's a layer to it. That, like, when you're listening to the stories, you're thinking about your own connection to your own parents, and then like I could sense your reaction, but then you withhold it. So I'm always like kind of curious what you're thinking as she's telling you the story.
And as the occasional tears that she cries, like, what am I doing? And there was a lot of editing that went on. So there was a lot of funny moments that perhaps I should have left in there for that reason. Like, where after she gets done crying, we break up in laughter for a while, and that would have been cute, but I don't know. We were working with this musician as well. And so it was just this thing,
a time thing.
Just kind of an edit, just an editing thing, a bunch of editing to it.
Huh. So the other thing I wondered is, so she comes in, it wasn't in anyone's house, it was in the studio. So she had to come into the studio and record these blocks. Was the block like a 2-hour block one day, or 3-hour block one day, a 3-hour block the next day, and that was it?
Yeah, it was like 3 hours and then a break and then a lunch and then another couple hours and then the same thing the next day. So I think all in all, we had like 8 or 9 hours of raw material that we had to go through and splice and
it's a lot. And what's crazy is, I imagine you gave her the instructions and everything else, but it's like she was talking to you but not talking to you. Like, she was comfortable enough to say all the things she had to say. Like, she knew what she was going to say. It was very well, not planned, very well.
Not scripted.
She'd gone over this in her head a bunch of times.
Yeah, it seemed like it was very fluid. It's like, even to do it in 2 days is kind of amazing, to have those fluid stories and to be like all tied together in a nice good continuity to it.
Build up, like, this is a long time coming. Is this like...
something that she's just been wanting to tell for a long time. And then she also brought the most recent draft of her book, and then the night before I didn't even sleep. I just stayed up and read her whole book and made notes. And so as we were talking, I was like, hey, let's, the only real direction we had is, let's just try to go chronologically through this. And then
that makes total sense.
And then her recordings just sort of built the whole podcast just based off of how her recording was, which is pretty cool.
For anyone listening right now that hasn't listened, just check it out. I mean, otherwise this whole episode seems weird.
I guess so.
Story of Sandra.
It's like, what are they even talking about?
Yeah. They're like, it probably sounds good. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you could just type in Story of Sandra into podcast and it'll pop up, or you could check it out.
Top Google for Story of Sandra?
I don't know about Google. Yeah, I think so. And I think if you in iTunes, if you put Story of or something, that just one of those, it pops up pretty
Story
quick.
Of S.
Story of S. Yeah.
I think, hey, top S. That's good.
Yeah, Story of S. It's on there. And we were on the New and Noteworthy just recently too, which was crazy.
Number 4 slot after Sandra Bland.
Sandra Bland. Oh, okay.
She's stealing the spotlight.
Honestly.
Oh man, who is she?
She's got to get.
I got to listen to her.
She died in county jail in Waller, Texas. I think she was beaten, and she might have been pregnant.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. So that's
equally these Sandra stories.
So, real quick, to touch on your father, Mr. Smiley.
Yes.
Is he passed?
Yeah, he passed, which was part of the motivation for all of this too.
Right. I caught that, but I didn't know. I wanted to make sure before I said anything. So, how did he pass? I don't know if that was.
He died of. Oh yeah, I never talked about that. He died of pancreatic cancer.
Oh,
so he went down. It was crazy. That's a pretty bad one.
It's quick.
I hadn't known anything about it. I think it's like the second worst cancer to leukemia.
God damn it, dude. One of my coworkers just got diagnosed like 3 months ago with it. And I was like, God, it'll be fine. I said that to him because I didn't research it. So I was like, that was a bad one. And I was like,
Yeah, it's pretty bad now. I mean, there are the survival. It's just
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And especially if you're young and everything, and you're not a hateful maniac, you could probably live a little longer. Yeah.
So here's my only question, and I knew this was going to come up. I knew you're a cool dude, and I know I like the story. Like, I feel like it was a railroad job on Neil, Mr. Smiley.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's wrong, but from the story perspective, right? Like, it's like, hey, buddy, we're railroading this right up your behind.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that, because it kind of was that.
It or not, and I imagine he deserved it from the stories. But it comes off as like very like.
Well, it's one-sided, though, obviously.
It's one-sided.
You mentioned it many times. This is a story of Sandra, no one else. So you precursor it. You mention that. Like, there's more details here and there, but ultimately, this guy is the douche, the king douche.
Yeah, she's the protagonist, and he's the antagonist.
Right.
He's the villain, and I really did. I wanted to villainize him a lot, and but the thing I'm glad you brought that up is because in retrospect, I wish I would have made his character a little more colorful and a little more in depth, because he wasn't just a complete psychopath like he's portrayed. He was actually a very nice man sometimes.
Ups and downs.
He seemed like he was very
the ups
selective
and downs
with like when he hit your mom and like how he hit her, and then like it also seemed like you guys weren't really aware of it until things got really bad, and then you were completely aware of it. And you're the oldest, right?
Kind of. No, I'm the middle child.
You're the middle child, okay.
Mm-hmm. The twins, were they before?
Yeah, the twins came before, and then me, and then my younger sister. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's really weird with abusive situations. We were all aware of it. I think that my mom would have liked to think that we weren't, and she tried to shield us from it, but we knew it was going on. Did
other people in your like immediate family know? Or it seemed like her parents weren't aware of it.
Nobody knew, and that's the thing that I actually interviewed my sister recently. I was thinking about adding the oldest one, one of the twins.
Okay.
I was thinking about adding an episode with her, because she talks about what she thought was left out from the podcast, and it's how charming he was. He was this very charming man, and you just wouldn't even know it and I think that's why I felt so compelled to tell his story, because not that I'm trying to like out him to people who knew him, but it's just
you could add perspectives on like the color of what your father was. You could do a whole series on just different takes.
Yeah, on how he could easily he could be his own series for sure. And I mean, he was just insane. I mean, the stuff, his life and everything, he had many lives in his life, and he achieved all sorts of different really great successes, and he went very far in a lot of ways, but it was so charming that anytime we tried to tell anybody about it, even when we would get police involved, the police would wind up getting mad at us and thinking that we were just misbehaving teenagers.
Do you have specific stories on that?
Well, let's see. I was at my friend's house playing in a band with my friend, and he called me up, and again, back in the time before cell phones, where one phone is connected to
like
the same line
region.
Yeah. So somebody else can pick up on another phone in the house and hear who's on the phone. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. So cover the earpiece.
Yeah. So my buddy was on the phone, and he was hearing this stuff my dad was saying to me, and he was just like, he told me he was going to kill me. He's just getting into, verbal abuse, just really nasty verbal abuse. And so my buddy was just, I was like, yeah, this is my dad. But he's like, we have to call the cops. He threatened to kill you, man. And I'm like, yeah. So we called the cops, and the cops got there, and I had to go home with my dad, and I was reprimanded by the cop because I was just a rebellious teenager who went to my friend's house.
You didn't even call the cops. Your friend was like, hey, we should do this. And you're like, yeah, we don't have to. And he did. And you're like, oh boy.
A lot of situations like that. And then there were situations of social workers coming to school, and my older siblings would be afraid to say, so we never had our story straight.
Because everyone was trying to either protect both parents or one parent
or one parent. Yeah. And I think that's what happens. It's so weird. That happens so commonly when I've looked into other people's stories too. It's just, for some reason, when you are abused, you want to protect your abuser. You guys were saying the Homestuck syndrome from your previous episode. The Stockholm syndrome. It's kind of like that. I mean, I know it's not, but it's like that same brain mechanism that you go through.
It's almost like you shelter yourself in this bubble of what you believe reality is, and then it takes like someone from outside the bubble to just like slowly crack away at what actual life is like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it just...
Think about it. I mean, your whole life is one thing. Someone's telling you it's shit. I mean, you get used to shit. You get used to telling you're not shit. And then someone's like, hey, there's other life out here. And you're like, whoa, I don't just want to go out here. Someone's like, no, this person's bad. And you're like, I'm going to pull you out. And you're like, whoa, I don't want to just get pulled out into the other shit. You know what I mean? Like, your idea of life is that there's shit out there. And there's shit here. There's shit there. It's shitty everywhere. Why would I go out there? I'm just going to restart my shitty. Is almost the thought process, I would imagine, with someone with Homestuck syndrome.
Yeah, with Homestuck syndrome. And I just think it's also, you just get, especially if you're raised in it. I think that's why the cycle of abuse, they call it, just goes on from one generation to another. And that's something else, in my story with the abuse, is that I just hated this man, I just, with a vengeance. And I would write like, I'll never be like him. I'll never be like him. And then as I grew and got into relationships and things, I found myself verbally abusing my girlfriends. And I'm like, I just became what I hated, and that was a really hard thing to...
Can I ask you, you don't have to get too detailed, but like, what do you mean? Like, you'd be yelling at him? Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. I wish,
I don't need the word for word, but like what?
Just kind of like really demeaning. I would go for
sarcastic, cutting,
but I would go for the things that I knew would hurt them the most. So things that in intimate relationships you only share with your intimate partner, that you get into with them. Turn things around on them and make it seem like they're doing something wrong, or that they're responsible for my anger or
their vulnerabilities.
Yeah, their vulnerabilities. Keeping them vulnerable in a way that I can like control them somehow.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy to see how that naturally came up out of me.
To you.
And then it brought up all these ideas of nature versus nurture, like how much
a lot on our show.
Yeah. I like how deep you guys get within your banter.
Yeah.
Intelligent conversations, but yeah, it's just what comes first. And I think it's a mix of both probably, but so that's still to this day, I have to keep it in check. And, I have to take responsibility for the asshole that I am, because, Mr. Smiles is dead now. Neil's dead now. Eventually my mom will be dead. Then it's like, who am I going to blame? You can't blame it on your parents. And regardless of what my childhood, now I am the way I am. So entering into new relationships, I can tell people, I have this anger problem sometimes. And when it happens, this is what I need you to do. And it's almost like having another person in your relationship. And if they're not okay with me being that way, then we're not going to be together. That's
wild. And that's mature. That's weirdly mature. Like I can know I have an anger problem, but it's harder for me to tell someone I have an anger problem and tell them what I'm doing psychologically. Hey, by the way, I had a rough this. By the way, I might do this.
Yeah.
Can you react this way? And then let me know how you react with this. That's a very open thing. I mean, for your sake, that's really good. You know what I mean? Like, that's like being super open. And I think...
Yeah, I think that's the only way... I think that's the only way to recovering from it, or being able to you just have to be an open book about it. You have to be really open-minded and honest. And I think that's what helped me with my path compared to my siblings, is I went the drug route, and I started experimenting with drugs at a very young age. That gets you out of your mind, That gets you out of...
I didn't know this.
Right here. Oh yeah. So, just the
heavy drugs. We don't got to get crazy.
Oh yeah.
We're like smoking a little doobies or like.
Oh yeah. Well, it started with the alcohol, and then oh man, when I
I'm
found
drinking
marijuana,
alcohol, I literally was. I'm doing this.
Yeah, but for a teenager, alcohol is different.
Normal.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I remember, but meeting marijuana for the first time was just. Then I could dissociate from reality. Then all of a sudden, my environment didn't have to be abusive. It didn't have to be bad. I could put Christmas lights up in my room and just be stoned and get into music. And that's, I think, where a lot of my artistic.
What were you into? I know this is like stupid, but
this
is like
music wise.
What were you into? I'm really sorry.
I was really into the Beatles. Really into the Beatles initially,
awesome. And what's weird is that's a throwback. Is that weird that it's a throwback?
Yeah,
you seem to be like attracted to the past. I'm really sorry. Yeah. I'm just literally putting ice in my drink.
Okay. Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
No.
You got to keep it iced. You got to keep it iced.
I do. But like, what else?
Beatles, and then I was really blossoming in the 90s. So I also suffer from what I like to call the Kurt Cobain complex.
Word. That's totally fine. That's cool.
I mean, now it's not like I think a lot of people, they hit their 30s and they continue to listen to the music they listened to when they were a teenager. You know, I'm on to a lot of different things now.
Some people do. What do you do now? I'm sorry.
Now I'm just everything, but mostly instrumentals.
Everything. If I told you you into like goblin core, like, you know what I mean? You'd be like, really?
Yeah, I guess you're right. That's kind of a cop out. It'd be better to say what I'm not into than what I am. Sure. But so I guess what I'm really into is stuff that sounds like it's from a different planet or really weird stuff.
Cool.
I really like Mogwai or
I know Mogwai and Godspeed You Black Emperor and all those.
Yeah, kind of Godspeed You Black Emperor, maybe not quite as hard as that.
But I'm just trying.
That same kind of like prog rock a little bit, but then
okay.
Also, I just like
prog rock. Okay.
Yeah, jazz and
that's cool.
Classical a little bit. I like to put classical just to relax.
Cool.
I think I pretend I like classical. You know,
that's fine. I think if you pretend to like something enough, I think you actually like it.
Yeah, you get there.
Especially something like classical. There's no way if you let someone listen to classical for the first time and they didn't like music and they didn't know theory and they didn't know anything, you'd be like, that was great. Like, no one really likes it.
Yeah.
That's like a learned thing. Like, that's like an intellectual thing. That's like a multi-level thing.
Yeah, that's what's weird about it. And also, it's like almost like the de-evolution of humans, because classical music was incredibly complex. And now it's just 4 chords everywhere. You know what I mean?
But think about this. I mean, the average, how many people were listening to music back then? In 1909 or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
It was like 400 people listening to music. You literally knew all the people listening to music.
Yeah.
You could name them. They were music majors.
Yeah.
Now it's like 4 billion people listen. Some of them are skateboarders. Some of them are emos. Some of them are this. Like, it's like, you got to just
commonplace
pronounce something easy for everybody to listen to.
Yeah, you got to make it easy. And, you know, before it was for the eating that cucumber sandwiches, you know, at parties. And it was for the kings, you know, it was for yeah.
But those guys were on their shit. I mean, they were making music for years. That's generations of like secret stuff. Stored up, learned a lifetime of like passed on, like mix and match. Let's use some old stuff. Like, that stuff's complex shit.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's like, I'm 14 and want to listen to something. Boom, give me something good.
Yeah, give me something poppy.
I don't hate it. It's just, it's what it is. It's something.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's it. You know, I had so much hatred I had to get through over the years too for music, for certain types of music.
That's the Kurt Cobain thing, dude.
Yeah, and that's when I say the Kurt Cobain complex. What I'm talking about is this fallacy almost that creative people have. They feel like it's a rite of passage to suffer in order to create good artwork. And you know, and then you have Bradley Noel. He definitely had the Kurt Cobain complex where he felt like he had to get into heroin to understand. Yeah, and he overdosed from heroin. Yeah,
I know. I didn't know if he felt like it made him a better musician.
I got really into Taboo when I watched a documentary about him. But you know,
was it a YouTube documentary? I mean, we never know with YouTube documentaries.
Yeah, no, it was before the YouTubes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, what we're getting at before we go so off track.
Oh yeah, very off track.
Totally getting like, oh, huh? But what we're getting at is there's
an element to people.
Complex, like you said, it's an element. There you go.
Yeah, there's
people. It's a counterculture thing.
There's a formation of yourself that happens. We had an episode on privacy, and one of the things that surprised me is that if you don't have privacy, you can't develop yourself. So by taking drugs, maybe you're leaving the area that's like the environment that's distracting you from understanding yourself. So by taking it out, you can kind of figure out what's going on, even though it might be bad for you, and then maybe make reasonable understandings to change your life.
Creative moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that is where you get tied up in that Kurt Cobain complex kind of thing, or that I need to suffer to feel. The best songs come from when you're suffering. Yeah, that pain, and because there is something to that. I think it's a generalization for a reason. There's something really about melancholy and about the beauty of pain and the painful stories that we experience.
You don't get that many songs about melancholy or like grunge nowadays. It's weird.
Yeah, nowadays you don't. I mean, you get a lot of torch love songs, breakup songs.
It'll come full circle, guys. There'll be another phase.
It's not like a Black Hole Sun or something like that.
100% sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like off kilter.
So I did remember what I wrote in my not notes. I didn't write notes.
Okay.
I remember. Okay. So this is it's like a change direction a little bit, but it might tie in.
Okay, that's good.
One weird thing that keeps coming up in the story of Marie, comes up in a lot of people's lives, is religion.
Yes.
We did a whole episode on religion. She's a lesbian. She's a lesbian. Homosexuality is the ultimate sin. There are some people who are pretty awful about it. They're like, you are the scum of the earth. You will live in the third tier, or whatever the tier was. And I was like,
yeah,
like a level of hell or something from some reason.
Well, here's my ultimate question. It seemed like religion wasn't for her. Like for Sandy, I imagine the three of us talking right here, religion isn't necessarily our thing. For her, it kept seeming like she kept coming back to it.
Almost a necessity.
Like she wanted it. Even if it didn't work for her. She got married for that reason. She had kids for that reason. She stayed with Mr. Smiley for that reason. And then at the end, she found her ultimate love of her life girlfriend, who was a minister. And I was like, stay away from religion. But
what's wrong with you? No.
Yeah. You want to shake her, Stop it.
One thing I always think is there's a weird balance between what people think religion will do for them, what it can be for them, and what it is for them. And it's like a tipping point. You can use religion to give you hope. Channel your energies and
use it as a tool
and repent. But some people use it to be a real dickhead. Some people use it to control other people.
Power.
Yeah. And I don't know where she fell in that. And I was like, wow, she kept coming back to religion, even though it told her to go away almost.
Yeah. And that's, and that's something that just blows my mind too. I was trying to get to the bottom of that in the podcast. And as I've been promoting on Twitter and reaching out, there's whole communities of homosexual people that are still Mormon. And they call themselves like the Latter-day Gays instead of the Latter-day Saints. Right. And I've been messaging back and forth with a few people asking like, why don't you just go? There's a lot of new age religions that are totally cool with, because if they're still in that religion and the religion's softening to the idea of being gay, they still can't have sex with a man, and they still can't marry a man, or a woman and marry a woman.
Right.
So what's the point? I mean, and
they're beholden to that religion. There's like a form of compliance there where they feel comfortable with what they know.
You used it, the big word. Come on, bring it up, Dan.
The compliance. Yes. Yeah. I wanted to know more about this word, compliance.
So there's an element of the story where like there's a moment where your mom actually decided to leave, and then this ties in with like you not being able to call her because your dad was like in the house, so she would tell you to call an 800 number, which was really intelligent by your mom's point of view. Like as she got away from your father, it seemed like she became more intelligent. Like she picked a job that paid really well, that was easy to get into. I think she became like a masseuse.
Actually, the first one was Domino's, free pizza.
Yeah, Domino's, but that was still kind of tied up in the divorce there.
It was before the full. Okay.
Yeah.
So once she was able to like get away from the environment and look at it like third person, you're able to like analyze things and determine that maybe like the best choices in life are the ones that you make and not the ones that are given to you. And it really seemed like your mom understood that the moment she stepped away from the situation.
I think so. And then I think she briefly discusses how she kind of needed it back again. So she attracted it now in lesbian relationships. And it took her many lesbian relationships that she went through. She met Neil in women's clothing.
Female.
Neil, she met the female Neil. And it's weird. It's almost like after a certain amount of, I don't know if it's post-traumatic stress, or I don't know what anything about that either. It would have been interesting to have a psychologist in on this on this podcast, you know. And now we take a break for doctor, whatever, you know. And
maybe we can.
Yeah, but it's just it's mind blowing and I think that's part of human nature. Just you're
kind of indoctrinated into a certain way of thinking, and you accept.
Indoctrinated is a great word.
Yeah, and I think it's not just Mormons; it's everyone. I think also everybody can relate to that feeling of wanting to be a certain way over and over constantly. You don't want to be the version of yourself that you are. You want to be something better, but you can never achieve it. You know, you can never get there. Like I'm going to quit smoking, or I swear I'm going to lose this weight this year. That's the basic stuff that most people can relate to. But in the extreme cases, I'm going to get out of this abusive marriage, and it just never happened. You know.
Real quick, we like to do an aside every episode for supplier.
Great.
The D series. It's a Japanese blade. You can look it up. It's the GH16308.
Ooh.
It's made of folded Japanese steel. What I've noticed is, I don't know if anyone at home paying attention.
Use that to cut things?
Looking to buy a new blade,
food?
use to cut things, right? Ordinary paper. It was butter. Anyway.
That sliced right through that paper.
Yeah. It doesn't just stop there. This thing will help you with your money problems. You cut right through it. Just trust me, it did.
I'm worried about your hand.
Don't worry.
Like
I'm
cut
very
yourself
careful
there.
with this blade. It's not just any blade. I know how to handle it. You check the guide. Your ex-wife's Jeep Grand Cherokee? Cut through it like butter. Boom! We got it. We got it. Last thing I'm telling you, folks, is that this thing can cut through anything. You're all at home saying it can probably cut through some things, but not anything. Let's see. Anything.
Anything. Literal.
Like
like clean, rugged cut. As smooth as a man's beard.
If you put in the coupon code WRECKT, wrecked, you will get 18% off thanks to the Panders. Anyway, it's the Misaki D Series blade. It's the GH16308. Check it out. Put in the coupon code. We get full credit. We'll give some money back to whoever.
We get a cut.
We get a cut. We get a cut. Slice, dice. If you got problems in your relationships, you have issues in your life,
cut the cord.
This is the thing. It'll fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just buy this. You'll be good for life. Okay? You're good. Thanks, folks. Tuning back, if you wanted to cut out relationships in your life.
Yes.
Was that made of plastic? Or was that a real knife?
It was my kid's knife. Sorry, it's from Melissa and Doug. It's a really cute knife.
Made of wood.
I'm practicing for when we get sponsors.
So. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
It's how I
thought it was legit. I really did.
I mean, sponsors.
The one thing I was a little concerned by was how specific you were with the Jeep Grand Cherokee. You know?
I just wanted to be actually my sister's car. It was the first person I thought of. Like,
it has a certain character to it. I saw your ex-wife.
Yeah, you felt her.
But now that you said it's your sister, I'm not going to say I don't like your ex-wife. I'm sure.
Could still be. Could still be.
Ironically, my ex-girlfriend of 8 years
Also
is dating
drove.
women now.
That's an interesting thing. You know, it's
so
like
wait, let's get into that. Like, she's a lesbian, right?
Yeah.
Your mother.
Yes.
The whole story. She marries a man. She dates men, and it doesn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
If she had dated or married a nicer guy, do you think like she would never know? She would know she was a lesbian, but do you think it would have just?
Yeah, if he wasn't abusive,
married forever.
Do you think it would?
Yeah, I think there was even a line, just single line, where she says, "If he was nice, I would have stayed married to him." Mm-hmm. And maybe even because she did find a way to love him in ways, you know, obviously to be able to have children with him. There had to have been some level of love there. Even if it was the love you have for somebody who's torturing you, it's still love. And I think, but if it was a nice, and there's so many kind, gentle, nice Mormon men out there. I mean, probably the majority of them are nice, you know, where they have partnerships.
Like 50%, we'll say 50%.
Yeah, 50%, you know, I mean, and that's just humanity. That's not just, most people are just assholes, you know. True. But they, I think she would have stayed with him and would have been fine, you know, always missing that piece of her heart, you know.
Could you sense it as a kid? I mean, I don't know at what point you figured out that your mom was a lesbian.
She said young. Are you talking about when he figured out?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Me or her?
Your perspective.
Yeah, from my perspective, I never really sensed it.
I mean, that's not like a.
But I did sense there was just no intimacy between her and her father, which I thought was really strange. But I thought that's just because he was a prick, you know. Right. But what was fun is when she did come out, we had a lot of fun with that. And you know, and she lived in California. We lived in Los Angeles and Hollywood, so we'd go sit on Melrose and check out the hot chicks. You know, and she'd be like, "Oh, she's a little old for you." I'm like, "She's a little young for you, Mom."
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun to break those boundaries, and then that was strange too, because that made me sexuality, because you sort of base your sexuality off what your parents teach you, you know.
A little bit.
Don't
a little bit of a delay here. I don't know if this is an interruption or not. Let's see if they come back. Uh-oh.
Oh,
there we go.
There we are.
Nice long delay.
Okay, long delay there. I thought that I would just keep talking, but as I saw the delay, it just got awkward. I felt like I was talking to myself, you know. And
we're really critical in that moment.
Yeah. For a minute, I wondered if any of this was even real, you know. And then I got really confused, and the LSD kicked back in again. Oh yeah, I never finished that. There was lots of drugs. There's marijuana, LSD. Eventually, I had to go to rehab for crystal meth. I mean, Jesus, you know, just meth? Yeah. Sandy and the love of her life had to put me in rehab. It was a rehab in South Central. They called the Last House on the Block.
How do you?
I'm curious too. I've never been addicted to any of that.
You know, but how do you do rehab? They literally put you in a house. They don't let you leave, and it's like a week long, and then the first 3 days are shit or something. I don't know.
Yeah, so it was. I see. That's the thing. I thought it was going to be like a hospital type situation. You know, I'm from Utah initially. No, it was a house in South Central, and it was the only bed they could find me. And it was just usually you have to go to a detox place first because they don't want you coming off the hard stuff in front of the patients. But in my case, they just let me sleep there for a few days, which they normally don't do. And it was supposed to be like 3 to 6 months, but I checked out early after a month. And I haven't used the crystal meth since then. That was very early in that was my early 20s. So I would never, I mean, it was just a strange phase, and it's just incredibly addictive, that drug, you know.
So give us like a hint at the positives and the negatives of it.
Well, the positives of it are
awake for 4 days. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the positives were the literary aspect of it. I, at that point, fancied myself a writer, and
you could keep writing.
You could
throughout?
write for 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
dude.
I'd hop on the bus and the metro, and you just scribble in my notebook, and
was it Hunter S. Thompson? It's kind of like
it's kind of like the beat thing. I
binge.
fancied myself, Hunter S. Thompson for sure. I was watching Naked Lunch too at that period of time, I'm sure, but and so and then the other thing is sleep deprivation is a really fun high, especially when you get beyond the 3-4 day mark.
How much time did you stay awake?
Probably 3 or 4 days, and it was only a month and a half that I was on this stuff.
And then what's like a crash? What's like a crash like after you've been awake for 4 days?
Okay, it's like a 4-day crash. Yeah, it's like a 48-hour crash, something like that probably. It's weird though because
are you completely disoriented? Like the moment you wake up, you're just like you have no idea where a week went.
Yeah, it's kind of like you expend a lot more of your energy, you expend a lot more of your juice, and then it catches up with you and you pay back for it like 10 times, so you have this like super fast moving brain that can your erudition and your vocabulary is just heightened like crazy, and then all of a sudden you're just dumb.
You're dumb as fuck.
You're just in a hole. You don't even know anything.
That's weird.
Yeah, so that's something for me. And I think looking back at all that the struggles I had with drugs was what allowed me to be so open-minded with some of those things we were talking about earlier. And just that you have to kind of come to terms with so many different things when you're trying to stop being addicted to something. You have to find out where all that's coming from. And, so I was just rehabs and the 12-step programs and all that, and
so can you drink anymore? Or you out on that? Though?
No, I can't do the drinking anymore either because
I'm really sorry. I offered you.
It's fine. I get offered it all the time in my field, and I just say no thanks, and that's it, or I don't drink, But it's not really that big of a deal anymore. It's been a couple of years now since I've had a drink, but it's because there's a difference, It's like imagine Will Ferrell in Old School, once it hits the lips and we're going streaking.
Yeah.
There are some people that just have that deep disposition to it that. And for me, it doesn't take very long. I just immediately hit rock bottom with that stuff. So
you go hard.
I go real hard. Yeah.
I find that sometimes to indulge is great, but sometimes to just stop is like, hey.
Yeah. I mean, you're casually having a drink. I would have had like 12 by now, probably. Maybe 8.
Tip the scale, so the scale would have gotten stuck.
Yeah. Right. I mean, 8's minimum. 8, you have to have at least 8.
I mean, 12. I mean, that sounds reasonable, right? 14, 15, sure.
But so now I do the kombucha and all that.
Which flavor was it? Can you show us which flavor it was?
Oh, it's coffee. Coffee with a K. Kombucha.
Actually, I've never had that flavor, so
it's really good.
Is it?
This is the Beverly Hills brand GT's kombucha.
So weird. That's in the 7-Eleven in PA.
Mm-hmm.
Just type in the UnPander's discount code and you get 5% off.
Yeah, if you type in
discount code
poop
you
or poop hard kombucha.
Poop hard.
Jesus. Poop hard.
Poop hard Jesus is the code.
To sum up the episode, because I think we're drawing to an end and we're getting scattered.
All sorts of scattered. I didn't know we were going to get into drug addiction and all that. I'm sorry.
That happens on natural progression here.
It's a natural progression here, guys. I was going to try and do the copy everything Dan says.
But he stopped.
I'm a receiver of knowledge.
Progression. I'm a slave progression. Anyway,
do the quick recap. I figured that's where Nick was going.
No, I was going to end. I wanted one more discussion.
One more?
Stopped.
Okay, we'll keep it quick. We'll keep it concise.
One more.
I'm curious, like when your first option of being like out of the house, away from all all the crap that you thought was normal life. You're gonna Nick is saying no right now. No, but there's a moment. So for me, there's a moment when I went to college and I got away from my parents, and like you realize like how sheltered you are. You see all these different people. You realize that life is a lot different than what you expected, and there's so many options for being happier or even
everyone listening home, tune in.
Mm-hmm. Or being anything different,
Yeah.
It's so hard, the shadows and the reflections on the wall of your cave you're in is all you really know, and so
Jesus Christ, are we going Plato? Is that
it's Plato, allegory of the cave.
I don't even know.
But so for me, the first time was when I was 17. I got in a huge fight with my dad, and I ripped the toupee off of his head. And
he had a toupee? Oh my God.
I should add to that.
I had no idea that Smiley had a toupee.
Yes, Miles had a toupee, man. And he was a big old fatty with a toupee, and he hated fat people. He just hated fat people.
Even though he was one.
Even though he was fat, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so we got in a huge fight, and ripping the toupee off his head is what gave me, because his adrenaline, I beat the hell out of him. And then he was chasing me, but when he got outside, he realized his hair wasn't on. So I was able to get away. And
did he stop? He couldn't be like seen in public without a toupee?
Yeah. He couldn't be seen in public. So I got away to a friend's house, and I had $600 in a bank account, and I got on a Greyhound bus. And
you never went back
to LA. Yeah, I didn't go back to Utah for a long time after that. And when I did go back to Utah, I was an adult, and could enjoy it again. LA kind of ate me alive.
Like seeing him again, what was that like?
It was just weird. It was just a lot of dissociation and like compartmentalization. Just kind of like, hey, Dad.
Just felt removed.
Oh, yeah. You just you don't talk about it. We never talked about any of it. He almost, after he would go on one of his psychotic breakdowns the next day, it was like it didn't happen. It was really strange. I almost thought it was dissociative identity disorder. Yeah, so that was so cool to get off the Greyhound bus in downtown LA. And in Utah, especially at the time, there was like one black person that lived here. It's grown in diversity quite substantially since then. But so as this little suburban gringo from Utah, I was just like, whoa. And it was just amazing, and there's almost just like this collective consciousness to the city too. You can't help but just feel it in your blood, and so that was cool, because at that point it was like anything's possible, all possibilities of life you can just become anything you want to become. And it was just pure freedom,
and your mom
really
was
a
there,
city of angels for me.
So, here, I'll end it here. What do you wish for your kid? Like, what do you want her and or him? Future, I'm giving you future kids.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're giving kids. There you go.
Yeah,
months you might have a good kid.
Things are doing pretty good. Yeah. I'm feeling randy.
But like, what do you want for them?
So that's something that this whole process of the shows made me think about a lot. Is like, man, and I don't want any specific things. I don't think, like, I don't care who they want to have sex with. I don't care where they go to college, or what they want to do for a profession. All I would really hope to do as a parent, I think, is to provide them coping mechanisms of how to deal with failure, and how to pick themselves up, and how to deal with heartbreak, and teach them to love themselves. You know what I mean? If I can impart that on them, that they're special and that they are all they need, and give them that power to go through life, then they're ahead of the game, and they'll be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Nice message.
Do you want them to hear the story of you, Steven?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, honestly, like,
we do this a lot because we've done 100 episodes, and there's things that maybe I didn't want to
episodes, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to share this with Dan because
the
my
sexual
kid
episode.
Could see it.
Yeah.
What if your kid sees this? Like, do you feel like if your kid sees this, it's like weird? Are you like,
no, I don't think so because I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so, though.
It's weird. It's not
It's
bad,
weird.
right?
It's weird, but it's not bad. It's not. I mean, it's just weird. It's just kind of like, but at the same time, eventually, I think that's the relationship. It's weird and that's something that my mom and I have, which is she can easily talk to me about how my dad would only want to have sex with her right after a hysterectomy.
That was the most effed up part. Wait,
yeah,
never mind. I don't want to end the episode.
Okay.
Rewind,
because this went through my head the whole time I was watching the episode. I was like, what's with the music? I was like, is this royalty-free sounds? And it was your friend, or
it was Stefano Garroni.
Yeah, and I noticed individual songs we played at certain times, and like the mood. It was like a bass heavy part when it was like the bag. I was like, oh shit, I know it's getting deep.
There was a lot of thematic material. Mr. Smiles has had his own theme in there.
And one review on iTunes was like, what's with the effing sound on the thing? It's distracting. I don't like it. I was like,
that's people.
I was like,
I know. I'm just like, I'm not going to read the reviews. I'm like, that's fine. That's fine.
But what was the process for that? He's recording his own stuff and recording.
Yeah. So it was kind of a process of, and it's something I sort of picked up with some work that I was doing on editing film, which I really like to edit film after the composer has worked on it for a while. So you sort of make the cuts to the music. So we sort of did a lot of back and forth. So it was like, this is the basic chunk of what episode 1's going to be. Why don't you have it for a little while, but don't stick to it. And then throw me back some of your files. So it was like a little bit of us working together, making something really nice happen.
Yeah.
But I just love it.
Who is he, by the way?
He's just this crazy musician out here, one of the best.
Friend of yours?
Yeah, friend of mine, really. Yeah, very close friend. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
And he's trying to find more avenues to make money as a composer and as a musician. He's been kind of playing in bands, and now he's like, shit, I'm getting old, I need money.
Some of his stuff was awesome. Some of it was like, all right. Some was awesome.
Yeah.
I never said it was bad.
For a 9-episode series, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Name again?
Yeah.
Out there.
Stefano Garroni. That's Italian Garroni.
We're Americans here. We don't like to look things up.
There's accentuation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's Stefano Garroni. So it's Garoni. And Stefano is Stefano.
Cool.
So you could do at Stefano Garroni and find him on Twitter, I think.
He made some pretty sweet tracks. Actually, pretty good. They were useful.
They're useful.
I feel the evil in his friggin' bass line when you talked about Mr. Smiles. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I was really, I think that was in like a Neapolitan key signature or something.
I don't know what signature it was. I was like, holy shit. I was like, every time I heard that song and it came up often, I was like, oh shit, we got the evil coming up.
Yeah,
and it was like
evil.
I felt it.
And I like that added the cool sense to the evil, which was interesting. You're a bass player, so is it just bass?
Yeah, the bass. Yeah, I'm only a bass player.
Only a bass player. Okay. Okay, so that's where you're.
I'll just keep 4 for you. Can I keep 4 for you? Can I just snare in a 2 and the 4? We're good.
Yeah, there you go.
If you ask me to do more than that, we're out. So.
Okay. All right.
Regardless, I thought the music was great. The production was great. What you did was great. Talking to your mother was actually pretty great.
You had a good impact. Made a difference.
Interviewed by the Unpanderers was actually pretty great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've had a fun time, man. This was fun.
Shit. Oh my god, these guys are so good.
Yeah, it's been cool. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
I need a sticker or something.
Oh, that's an idea.
Stickers. Coupon code RECT.
Wrecked. Or hard poo. If you're looking for
hard poo
coffee.
Jesus.
Drinking some kombucha.
Yeah.
Rock shit. Yeah.
Anyway, to sum it all up, your mother had a great life, awful life.
Yes.
Awful life.
Duality.
Great,
It's
great,
duality.
awful
You have
life.
to experience the worst to feel the best.
Yeah.
Made a great story. We can check your socials here or here, Dan.
There's a Story of Sandra is in the video.
Story of Sandra.
Nice.
Yeah. We're talking to Steven the
You
son.
came on our show. Do you have anything real quick to ask us before we roll out? I mean, we covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we did. We covered all sorts of stuff. No, nothing really. It sounds like you have a big backlog of episodes.
Are you
that
gay?
I'm anxious to hear. No. Are either one of you gay?
No.
Yeah, both of us.
Oh, both of you together. That's what I was hoping. Okay.
Dan does not know it, but we're going to get into it.
Yeah, that's why we're sitting so close to each other, about 2,000 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
We're meant to be together. About
I've often been thought of as ambiguous, and in my younger days I was flamboyant.
See it by your microphone.
See, and even the glasses. But see, the glasses are more gay. So you want it's less gay now.
He
right?
took them off. It took him a whole episode. He took them off. That's good.
Yeah, right. But no, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I used to tell people I'm just waiting to meet the right guy, or I'm saving.
That's a good one.
Or I'm saving that for my 40s.
Do not tell your wife or your children.
She's like, oh no, it's not going to go over well.
I know.
Yeah.
It's weird how this whole thing works together. It's weird how it all ties back to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. It's almost like we all are part of an Unpanders episode. And yet here we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're live. We're here. We're the Unpanders.
Doing a podcast.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
Is it coincidence? Maybe. Are we all gay? Maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe everybody's a little gay.
Just a tiny bit.
Just some little experiences.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's
Come
all
on, you know you're a little gay. Come on, everyone, listeners.
I'm
Just
a little
be
gay. Thanks.
Just get really close to the mic and just admit it. It's fine.
Thanks, folks, for listening.
Yeah.
We like
Thanks
you.
for having me, guys.
We
This
like
has been
you.
really fun.
You're
We
welcome.
like
Thank you for having
a lot. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Check
All right.
out Story of Sandra. Check out Unpanders. Throw money at just the Unpanders, not Story of Sandra. Whatever you want to do.
That's fine.
You want to buy the
Yep, fine with that.
ginseng blade?
Yeah.
Let me know.
I'll sell you the only one he has from Alyssa and Doug.
I love you, folks.
We like you.
Friggin' love you.
Thanks for watching and listening.